Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest edition of the Woke Bros. Of course, I'm your co-host, Big Waz, aka Wazzy Lambre, and I'm joined by my brother, my partner, fresh back from España, my man Nando Vila. What's going on, bro?
It's good to be back. I was spent some time in the motherland. Always good to reconnect with my people.
Love
Eat
that.
some authentic food, and some good laughs, some late nights. In Spain they eat dinner at like fucking 10:30,
Yeah,
which
easily.
means that
That's an
like
early
yeah,
dinner, 10:30,
yeah. So
midnight.
like I didn't go to sleep before like 3 or 4 a.m. any of the nights, which
It's
like
not
these days
possible.
yeah
It's
yeah.
not possible over there. What was the best meal that you had while in? Where were you? Were you in Madrid?
Barcelona and then
Hmm.
Madrid.
Okay.
Fuck. Yeah, I went to this place that specializes in seafood and shit, dude. I mean, the seafood in Spain is just
Was this in
incredible. Like
Barcelona?
in Madrid, in
Oh
Madrid.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fucking it was awesome. Um yeah, just the seafood in Spain is just like a cut above, just the shellfish and the all there's shellfish you don't see here ever, you know what I mean? Like yeah.
I
Uh,
love that.
yeah.
Love that for you. Glad you're back. On today's show, Joe Biden is threatening to cut your student loans, guys. Or not. Me and Nando are going to get into Joe Biden and what the White House wants to do about student loan debt, if anything at all. But first up, last time Nando was here, we talked about Elon Musk threatening to buy Twitter, and we thought he wouldn't do it basically because he couldn't afford it. Like he didn't have the cash on hand to just spend, $50 billion on Twitter and buy it outright and take it private. And the thought at the time, Nando, was that if he's just doing this to like shit troll people, why would he borrow money against his stock in Tesla? Like that seems kind of dumb to do on a lark or as a troll. But lo and behold, man, the news came out about 2 days ago that the sale went through, and I think he came up with 23 billion in cash, and the rest he borrowed, and he leveraged his freaking stock in Tesla to do so. Like that's like say what you want, man. Like this guy put his money where his mouth is. Like he's actually literally invested in Twitter now, like
Yeah.
in the ownership of it, which I just think is crazy. I want to get your initial thoughts about it.
Well, I mean, I also thought it was just really funny that because he also sold a bunch of Tesla stock to get like enough cash to finance the deal. Um, and when you sell like a ton of stock in a company, the value of the company, because like if people see like, oh, the founder is like selling the stock, like that means like the value of the company goes down. So like Tesla's stock went like way down as a result. Like I don't know, like something like 130 billion dollars worth just like whoop, just disappeared in value. Um, I mean, you and I were both like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. He's not gonna do it, is he? Like, but we haven't learned our lesson, right? Of the last few years, we're
Right.
like the most insane outcome is the one that you should bet
Yeah.
on.
Hmm.
And and dude, I mean, it's both. It's a very funny story because it's not like it's like I don't think that in the grand scheme of things all that much is going to change.
Yeah, me
um
neither.
like I can't imagine him doing anything that radically different within Twitter, or at least having the wherewithal to implement it kind of with the follow through necessary to really radically change Twitter. But at the same time, it's also depressing that just like, yeah, rich guy can just buy the one guy can just like own the social media platform that's most important for political debate or political argument or whatever, and he just controls it and he just does whatever he wants with it, like a little plaything. I think it opens up a lot of like interesting conversations. I mean, I think a lot of the libs are worried that like he's going to bring back Trump, which I'm like cheering on. I'm like, bring him
Okay,
back, baby.
it was great
Um,
material.
yeah, I'm like, bring him back, baby. I always thought that the lib kind of obsession with Trump's Twitter feed was stupid, that it wasn't like a source of his power. It was just like very funny to me. Um, but that like if that is all that comes out of it, then like that's not the end of the world. It'd actually be kind of funny to see Trump back on Twitter, like guys, did you miss me? I'm back, baby. I'm back.
Worth noting, Donald Trump has, since he's been kicked off of Twitter, invented a new social media, founded a new social media company called Truth. What is it called?
Truth
True,
Social or something like.
True Social, of which it just has like a fraction of Twitter's audience. And he's come out with a statement that says he won't be on Twitter. He's sticking with Truth, which I guess was supposed to be a double entendre of like his social media company and the Truth or whatever, as Donald Trump sees it, and he's gonna still be on Truth Social for now. Just thought that was worth mentioning to the audience.
Well, and Elon Musk tweeted out today a screenshot of like the Apple Store, and because Truth Social is number one on the Apple Store, and Twitter is number two. And Elon Musk is like, Truth Social is currently beating Twitter and TikTok on the Apple Store, and I'm like, I guess that makes sense. I mean, like, Twitter's been around forever. Like, who's downloading Twitter now? Like, if
Yeah,
you don't have
yeah,
Twitter by now, like,
yeah.
you're not
Like,
gonna.
what are you doing?
Yeah. but yeah, I mean, it's just it's just all fucking so stupid. Like the Matt Crispin from Chapo, the day Trump won the election, tweeted out something like, "Today is the stupidest day in the history of American democracy," which will only be followed by like tomorrow, which will be the stupidest. Like each day will be progressively stupider, and that's like that's been born to be true.
Yeah, I guess for me, like the whole rich people, like the mega rich, get to do whatever they want. Like, as somebody who thinks Tesla's kind of a scam, and I've said this over and over again, I think that stock
Same.
is overvalued. Like I can't say this enough. Like, when he's talking about, oh, we're gonna colonize Mars and put people on space. And I know that SpaceX is a separate entity, but I think that plays into people's
No,
belief.
but Tesla's
The
like the self-driving
perception, yeah,
cars,
yeah, yeah, all of this stuff.
the tunnels, and all that bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this perception of whatever, like what he's done, what he's committed to, like putting out in the world that people can buy and that you can touch are these cars. And the cars are dope, but like there's no way that company is worth all that much money because they put out these 3 models of cars. Like, that doesn't even make any fucking sense. But whatever. And the fact that he could sell stock in the company, which to me, again, like, he's selling high, if we're being honest. And like the fact that he could sell stock in the company for like tangible money is just like, that is something that I'll never be able to square. You understand what I mean? Like, a company that's not worth that much, him being able to extract that much actual cash from it is like, I don't know. That just says a lot about the scam of our, current economy. But besides all of that shit, antitrust, the power of the oligarchs, all of that shit. For me, I'm just like, yo, this dude put his own money into this. And as crazy as he is, he likes money. And unless he wants to lose his ass on this, he cannot just tank this company. Like, he's plunged his own money and a great chunk of his net worth into buying this thing. He can't tank it. Like, at the very worst, he could, like, be like, all right, fuck it, I'm done, and I'll sell it while it's still worth something. But he can't completely just make this shit unusable and stupid. So like, I sit back here and I'm like, well, the incentives don't align. For he's not rich enough to just be like, all right, I could pump this much money into something just to burn it, just to literally burn it. That being said, I was just very amused by the liberal reaction on Twitter, where people are like having headaches and like, oh God, I can't do Twitter anymore. And this, I'm like, why? Why?
Yeah.
Somebody explain to me what's going to be so different about Twitter now.
Yeah. Nah, I suspect like he'll tinker with some things. Like there's like there's been a lot of talk. Like I think he's mentioned in the past, like that he might want to add like an edit button to tweets, which sounds like a good idea. It's like one of those things that like sounds like the good idea. Like, oh shit, I did a typo on that tweet. Let me like edit it and fix it. But it's one. Then you start to wonder like, wait, why didn't they put an edit button before? And it's like the answer that becomes like very obvious is like part of the point of Twitter is that like tweets can travel, they can go viral, like you retweet it and they
Yeah.
get tweeted into your feed or whatever. And if there's an edit button, someone can tweet something, then you retweet it because you're like, oh,
And
this
then
is
it
cool,
turns
and then they
into,
change it to
oh,
like
suck
I'm a
my dick.
fucking
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah. We know.
So then people were like, oh shit, then I will never retweet anything, and then Twitter would like fall apart. Like that's like, oh
Exactly.
shit,
So
like
he's
there's an
not gonna do
unintended
that.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like the Tesla thing you were talking about, like how it's a fraud, but they have dope cars. Like that's 100% true. Like it's this weird thing where like, they have produced these kind of impressive machines. Like if in driving tests, like they're really fast and whatever. And some people say they look cool. I don't. I think like all the gizmos and gadgets are kind of stupid. Like the door that have you ever tried to open one of their
Yeah, yeah.
doors?
The
So
door handle of Teslas is stupid.
it's
That's
like,
a dumb component.
but
Yeah.
like my buddy who shall not be named, I was hanging out with him and he has a fucking Tesla, and I was hanging out with him recently and I was like talking, I was like, do you like that fucking car? Like I went in it when I was like, this is like it feels like I'm in like this, I don't like this. Like I have a Jeep Wrangler, it's like incredibly analog, you know. He's like, no, I love it, man, I love it. And
Everybody
I'm
who
like,
I've ever talked to drives one loves it.
yeah, well,
It's
the
a
thing is,
fact.
like, but then I was like, have you had any issues with it? Like, any problems? Like, no, no issues. Like, well, one time I was driving and the wheel fell off. And I'm like, the wheel fell off? And he was like, I'm like, it's not like like the car didn't start or whatever. Like, the wheel fell off? I'm like, that doesn't happen. And because, like, one of the problems with Tesla is that they have this incredible technology, but they don't have the manufacturing wherewithal and processes to mass produce them at a reliable clip. Like you don't like we don't appreciate how hard it is for like Ford or Honda or GM to like design a car and then produce like hundreds of thousands of them that are like
Mhm.
all of them,
Exactly the same,
exactly
basically.
the
Yep.
same with the quality controls and all that stuff. Like when the Japanese did that shit in like the late 70s and early 80s, it was like seen as like a total miracle, that they were able to catch up so quickly. It's really hard to mass produce something as complex as a car. And like I think that the problem with Tesla is that they have this cool technology, but the mass production, like they have all kinds of like they have all kinds of problems all the time, like they're recalling Model 3, like the Model 3 specifically is like the one that they're having the most trouble with. And yeah, my buddy's he's just driving on the road in the little Tesla, and his fucking wheel just flies off. And I'm like, dude. He's like, yeah, it's been in the shop for like 2 months. I love it.
But yeah, that's been generally people like, look, it doesn't have to get tune-ups. I don't have to do maintenance. I don't pay for gas, which is like,
That's huge.
that is huge in this economy. And whatever. I just think, this story says a lot about just the shit that people care about or claim to care about on the internet. I thought that was just interesting to watch, like just the reaction on the internet. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, too cool for school. I'm just like literally because I hate being that person too. Like, oh, please, I'm indifferent. Oh, please, I'm the most cynical. Oh, please. I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I don't fuck with Mark Zuckerberg, but I spend a lot of time on Instagram. Like I'm addicted to Twitter. Like I don't know that it matters. Like, is this guy a better person or human or less dangerous than Jack Dorsey? Or I don't know. I don't understand how people are making these distinctions amongst this class and cohort of people. I would love to hear people. I would love to hear the feedback from people about it. I think Elon just has this ability because he's a troll. Like he's good at it, inciting emotion. He's good at eliciting emotion from people, and I just can't understand why.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because like I guess like he does the thing that like he's genuinely an eccentric billionaire. Like, all these other billionaires are just so manicured and they talk to the
Yeah,
press in like a very
like Bill
kind of, he's
Gates,
just like,
right?
yeah, Bill Gates or, even Zuckerberg, he's just such a fucking weirdo that it like seeps through, but like he tries to keep up like an image. Or Jeff Bezos like doesn't talk to the press. You know what I mean? Like just they keep their image kind of very tightly controlled and managed. And he's
Elon's
just like,
just a weird dude, and he's letting you
yeah,
participate with the
oh yeah.
weirdness.
Yeah. And I mean, okay, so like here's the thing. Here's like my objection to Elon Musk is like slightly different. I mean, I think like the libs get mad at him because he like goes on Joe Rogan or whatever and likes like these kind of random pseudo right-wing populist type guys or whatever. Like Elon Musk at heart is just like your standard issue libertarian dumbass, and what's particularly frustrating to me is that Elon Musk, who is this like libertarian who talks about like how annoying government regulations are, who talks about like how unions are terrible and how he quashes any union that tries to organize in his workplaces, and like flaunts OSHA safety protocols in his factories, and like his factories have way higher incidences of injury than any other car manufacturing plants, which are all kind of heavily unionized and regulated and stuff like that. Is that Elon Musk like survives from government largesse.
Subsidies. Yep.
Like there's a 2015 investigation by the LA Times that kind of counted up all of the government grants and tax breaks and tax incentives and whatever that Elon Musk's various companies have had over the years, and it amounted to 4.9 billion in 2015. Like that's just like he would not be able to survive on the sort of free marketplace of open capitalism. Like he just survives off of government subsidies, like a bunch of other powerful industries do. And the thing with him taking over Twitter, it's just a more distilled version of a more structural problem with the internet and social media, that it's been captured by these private interests. Like Mark Zuckerberg controls Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. And that's like that's way more power than Elon Musk controlling Twitter. Like WhatsApp around the world is like the messaging.
That's the joint. Yep. That's what your family members who don't live in the US universally, like, a lot of new agey people on Telegram now because it's encrypted or whatever the fuck people come up with. But like if somebody lives outside of the US, they're using WhatsApp, period.
Yeah. And so that's the real issue here. Like the Elon Musk thing just kind of crystallizes what was an already existing structural problem, is that our public sphere, like which the internet is a version of a public sphere. It's like a public square, is controlled by private interests, and we are at the whim of those private interests. We have no ability to democratically change them. Like the real solution to this problem would be to sort of nationalize these giant social media platforms and run them kind of like the post office. You know what I mean? Like they'd be unsexy, they wouldn't have cool logos or whatever, but they would be democratically accountable and would protect free speech in the real way. Like no one's worried that their mail is going to be censored. You know what I mean? By the post office,
right?
Like there are kind of genuine free speech protections by this publicly heavily unionized public sector organization. And social media probably should be something similar to that. So, I mean, that's the real takeaway from me. But like, you see the libs and they're like, oh my God, he's going to let dangerous Donnie back on Twitter. And I'm like,
I seen some dude post some shit like, oh, his pops was part of the apartheid regime. And
he
somehow
was.
that's,
They ran an emerald factory in fucking South Africa. Talk about pressing the murder button every day.
Yeah, 100%. But like, I don't know what that has to do with Twitter. You know what I mean?
Nothing.
Like that's fucked up. His pops, I'm sure, was not a great dude, and and Elon, nobody's version of a saint. I don't know. I just have a heart. Like, I'm like, would this have been better if George Soros bought this, or if Oprah bought it, or if Bill Gates bought it, or I don't like name the billionaire or uber rich person. If Steve Ballmer, the guy that owns the Clippers, bought it, like, would this be better? I don't know. And at the same time, these people did backflips when, Jeff Bezos saved the Washington Post. It was like the greatest day in the history of life. I just wish I knew more.
Remember when Bernie pointed that out? When Bernie was like, Washington Post owned by the richest guy in the world. Like, that's a problem. And the libs were like, oh my God, can you believe he said that? And it's like, the point is, it's not about whether you like the billionaire or not. Like,
this is
incongruent.
Yeah, this is incongruent with democracy. It doesn't. these things don't fit together. Democracy and a guy basically owning the second biggest newspaper in America. One guy having sole control of it is, our second biggest newspaper in America. That makes no type of fucking sense whatsoever. However, I was amused by all the Elon stuff. I have some friends who black, black professional class people who've been kind of disillusioned by liberalism and are now like quasi like right wingers who are just like, this is great. This is great. And right wingers in the sense that like they want to be able to call women broads and
Yeah, yeah,
it was okay when we could call a woman a slut if she was being a slut. And they're tired of the men are trash narrative, and they hate the sort of social the wave of social just speak that we've done on social media. And so they love it. They love the Elon stuff. They're like, oh, I might go back on Twitter and call somebody a whore. Which, I just think it's funny, like the strain of people who are stimulated by this, right? Like it's either ridiculously limp wrist liberals or it's like people who just want to be able to say, call homosexuals the F word again. It's like, it's so funny who's like stimulated by this. Again, one of those things that normal people don't give a fuck about. And that's another thing. That's one last thing I want to explain to people. Like, Twitter doesn't really matter. Like it doesn't actually matter for real. There's actually like not that many people on Twitter. And so much as it matters is that prominent people are on Twitter. And so therefore the media apparatuses throughout culture will pick it up, right? Like CNN will post a tweet. MSNBC, Fox News, Saturday Night Live, you name it, Colbert, whatever. Like they will talk about tweets. You'll see it in movies. You might see it in some piece of culture that's popular. That's so far as Twitter has reach, right? Like they don't like it. I don't think Tumblr exists anymore, does it? But like nobody would ever put a Tumblr post on Fox News tomorrow. Like it just wouldn't happen. So Twitter is important in that sense, in that it's kind of become the record of note for prominent people, right? Like it's like the ledger of prominent people's sort of diaries, if you will, public diaries. But like nobody's on Twitter. Like you mentioned WhatsApp, Instagram, like their market caps are like triple, quadruple, 10, 20 times, 30 times what Twitter's is. I read somewhere that Twitter does like $1 billion in sales or profits every year, which like in the space of like, Google and Google search or YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, like it's nothing. It's like $1 billion a year is seen as like you're a failure. They do $1 billion a year and they're failing miserably in these people's eyes. Like, Twitter is not like I would be sad if Twitter died tomorrow because it's by far my favorite social media platform. When I'm on the internet, it's how I'd rather spend my time more so than anything else. So I personally would feel like, damn, that sucked. But like, would society be at a deficit? Absolutely not. No. No, it wouldn't. We wouldn't get to have fun. Us bourgeois elites.
Well, me and you, Waz, are like constitutionally like adept, like built to withstand Twitter. There's people like fucking crazy on that shit. Like every day there's someone new who's like, oh, there's the guy. He's going crazy right now on Twitter. Like I would never go crazy on Twitter. It's never gonna happen. I can handle it.
I have though. Look, 2020 not 2020, 2016 both drove me crazy, but scared me straight at the same time. Where it was just like, I remember just being like, yo, are like white people like this dumb? Like I was disavowed of like white people, right? Like even somebody who went into it thinking like, white people are mostly fine. I don't think they're like special magical people like some people do, or like especially evil or whatever. But I didn't think white people were like dumb. And then I was like, damn, white people are dumb as shit, right? Whatever. So that was like sad for me. I was like, wow, you can't really give white people the benefit of the doubt in America, right? Whatever. And then, but like it just went on and on and on and on and on and on about how horrible this whole Trump thing was. And then I would walk outside. Inevitably, I would just be watching life go on. And
Yeah,
I'm just like, yo, like, there's a big disconnect. Like, me personally, that was my journey, but I was just like, yo, this is crazy that we can let this dude like be in charge of the nuclear codes. Like that was genuinely like jarring for me. But then it's like, again, just like you go outside, the guy at your bodega is like the same exact way that he was the day before and the day
yeah,
after. And literally, like nothing has tangibly actually changed for anybody in your life.
yeah,
You realize that like maybe we're doing a little bit too much on the internet when we make us think about some of this stuff. And so I was able to
yeah,
like move on, you know what I'm saying? But like at the same time, man, I didn't go like this certain shit like Russiagate, like to watch people
yeah,
go down Russiagate. People
yeah,
are still down Russiagate, by the way.
yeah, yeah. I know, I know.
People
There's still like
still
dead
haven't
enders.
recovered from Russiagate.
Yeah,
To
yeah,
watch people just go insane, like Donald Trump made people crazy, and so like
yeah,
just experiencing that, like I'm very happy that like a lot of my life isn't oriented around online. I was on Facebook going nuts. I was cursing people out. I was so mad in 2016. Not even because I liked Hillary that much. I was just like, yo, this is so dumb. Like this is dumb. This is
yeah,
this is really dumb. You
yeah,
know, but yeah, I don't know, guys. Like Twitter will be okay.
yeah.
We can move on to the next thing, which is this Joe Biden and the student loan debt stuff has kind of been circling the news a little bit, which makes me think that there might be some type of movement on it. I'm still very skeptical, Nando. Where are you at with the student loan stuff and what you're seeing?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a funny situation in that Biden ran on some version of student debt relief, which he's done. He hasn't really done. He's done a little bit, but not anything meaningful. What has happened is because of the pandemic, they decided to pause student loan payments like temporarily, and then but then the deadline comes in, and then it's like, oh shit, do we really want to like piss off like the millions of people who like, you know what I mean, like they get used to it, like we want to piss them off, and so they're like, okay, let's
That's
just
why they
extend it
don't,
like 3 more months, and so
that's
they
why
keep
they don't
doing
like
it.
these entitlements, Nando.
I
People
know you.
actually like them, and
Yep,
therefore the politicians will be held accountable for taking them away.
totally, and like it's a kind of a truism in politics that like what you try to do is kick it to the other team to have to do to have to do the bad thing, to take the blame for um having to do that. So what the Democrats like have been doing is just kind of punting on it. They just kind of keep extending it, like, so people haven't been paying their student loan payments for like 2 years, and like that's a long time.
Man, that's a long time to get used to something that nice, man.
Yeah, yeah, like, but again, it does create a certain amount of anxiety to think like, oh shit, like 3 months from now, I gotta pay all this shit. I gotta start paying all this
Mhm.
shit again, But then they keep extending it at the last second. Um, so there's growing pressure, like assuming that the Democrats are just gonna get fucking destroyed in these elections, in the midterms. The growing kind of pressures to do something, some Hail Mary to try to get voters excited about voting for Democrats. I mean, did you see the poll numbers that came out like a couple
No, I
weeks ago?
haven't.
Joe Biden's support amongst young voters has like collapsed, like, which is like a Democratic Party constituency. You know what I mean? Like young people vote
It
Democrat. That's
should
just
be.
the reality.
Mhm.
Um, and dude, his voting numbers have just like his polling numbers have absolutely just collapsed amongst young voters because like, what do they got to show? Like, what do they got to show for it?
This was
Um,
supposed to be the election that determined their lives, remember? And
right,
you've
right, right.
done absolutely dick all. None of the executive
Yeah,
orders, nothing. You've done
yeah,
nothing.
yeah. So like this, there might be like some Hail Mary thing at the last second, which will probably be too little, too late because they're not gonna like cancel the whole thing. They're only gonna cancel like a little bit of it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'll see it. I'll see it when it happens. But like, I think the what I suspect is going to keep happening is they're going to keep on extending it for a while. And maybe they're going to have to just going to hand it off to the Republicans to see if they extend it, or see if they're the ones that are down to like, cancel it. Because again, Republicans, as much as they talk, they also struggle to cut entitlements. Like they haven't,
They
they
do.
try every
They
time, but they don't really
do.
do it because like
And
they
part of
put us
it
down the
too is
back.
because they're known as the entitlement cutters, and so they know like they'll have to actually wear it. Like the thing is with like driving up the deficit and spending a shit ton of money, they don't have the rep of being the party that does that, and so they're never scared to do it. They never have to wear it in that way. Whereas entitlements cutting is something that's their brand. So they know if they actually do it, they're gonna have to wear this shit. 100% gonna have to wear it.
Yeah. No. So yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, we're seeing some bit of the news that Biden might be moving on this. I don't know. It's just so outside of his nature to do something bold. I mean, they'll do something half-assed. No one will notice it. They won't even claim credit for it, and they're just gonna get crushed.
Yeah, I was on TYT with our man John on the damage report, and he whipped out a stat that said if they cut if they erase student loans for up to $50,000, 35 million people would be affected. That's 10% of the population. That's insane. That is an insane amount of people who would directly be affected positively by this. And look, this is not the type of show where we pay lip service to the idea that like, oh, you took out the loan, you took the responsibility, and you should be like, that's ridiculous. Like the idea that like you should be morally held responsible to pay an extortion fee, like that doesn't make any sense, right? Like this is your basically your only opportunity to guarantee yourself a seat in the middle class is to go to college and earn a bachelor degree. And these people hold it hostage by charging you this much and charging you.
Yeah, as if you went to like a spa. As if you went to like to get a loan to go to a spa.
Ridiculous. It's like, no, like you're doing it so that you can live a middle class existence because, again, there are no other paths. If other paths existed, if working at Starbucks or Walmart or McDonald's or Amazon or any of that shit guaranteed you a passage to the middle class, a bunch of people would be like, fuck college, I'll read books on my own time and I do that. You tell me I could do this and one day I could own a home. One day I could still go on 2-3 week vacation with my kids, pay for babysitters, do all of that type of shit. Take my family to a nice dinner, maybe twice a month or something like that. People would not be giving a fuck about college and they would be doing this other shit instead of taking 3 and 4 other jobs when they don't have that luxury. So you lock people out of that if they don't go to college. And then you tell them they got to pay this crazy amount of money plus interest, which is like the most disgusting part of it. Why
that you can't discharge it in bankruptcy?
Of course not.
There are people on Social Security, like over 65 years old, who get Social Security checks, who get part of it garnished because they still own student. Yeah,
this is. How is that a just system? Just again, like, why should the government be making money off of it? I don't get it. It's criminal. It's extortionary. Like, we don't even need to pay lip service. Like, well, some people might say, no, that's because it's bullshit. It's just resentment. It's like, I already paid my loans back. Yeah. I'm salty about it. You should have to live a salty existence. We've seen this play itself over and over with plenty of other shit out there. But and if they did, I think if they did something like 10,000, something like 15 million people, which again, still not an amount of people to sneeze at. Again, which makes me think like they're not going to do it because I truly think, Nando, and you were one of those people that awoken me to this idea was that like a lot of this stuff isn't just the Democrats are feckless and bumbling idiots. It's that, no, they're like deeply ideological. And I think ideologically, they think that you should have to pay your student loans back.
Oh, yeah.
That's the main reason why I think they won't do it.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, it's like wiping away debt. Like, that's crazy. What are you talking about? Like, no way. Like, no. Yeah. Yeah. If the banks do it, you could wipe there. That's fine, you know.
Mhm.
Like, but
Of
people,
course.
regular people, no,
Yeah,
not
guarantee the bond market tomorrow.
yeah,
Wipe away student loan debt. What the fuck? That's
no way.
stupid. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Anyway, that's our show for today. Make sure if you can, you become a Patreon of Count the Dings, patreon.com/Count the Dings. That's a cup of Starbucks every single month. If you can afford a cup of Starbucks, become a Patreon to support the show. Make sure you're doing all the other Count the Dings offerings, Friday mailbag, Cinephobe, pack your knives, etc., etc. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Later.